And we are synchronized. Let's do this. Whew. Okay.
Which is the hepatocyte, and out comes triglycerides, or new fat. We know how this process works in animals, for example, in the production of foie gras. While this is a very controversial food because of potential animal cruelty, it is the fatty liver of a goose. And it's made by putting a tube down and feeding these ducks large amounts of not fat, but starches. Corn mash in this case. They take all this corn, which is high in glucose, and their liver creates more fat. You get fatty liver, which is the food that we call foie gras. And it works in humans too. In this.
So what is up, guys? I'm back for another video. Having dinner. This is not foie gras as mentioned in the video I'm watching, which I'll talk about a bit later. This is a duck, smoked duck actually, and it's this one is black pepper flavored. So you see what I have here. It's basically 1.5 portion you get frozen. So you have to thaw it out a bit. Or what I did was just thaw it out a bit and then I put it in the oven about 10 minutes each side. Right? A lot of oil came out. Right? Maybe I'll show you guys later what the oil looks like. It's a lot of oil. Okay, and here in the pot, again it's kimchi soup, radish kimchi. This is the radish, and again I put in carrot, and enoki mushroom, some tofu, broccoli, of course, as you can see. Not a whole lot of broccoli, a bit overcooked. The color's not that nice. A dull green, almost yellowish. So this is dinner, and as usual, oh, and this is broccoli stem. I'm watching a video, not playing any games today. Just want to watch this video by Dr. Jason Fung about how to reverse fatty liver disease naturally. Yeah, which was actually uploaded yesterday, 4th April, right? So, Dr. Jason Fung, basically, I think he's an advocate for, I've watched some of his videos, he's an advocate for intermittent fasting to help, mitigate or even reverse type 2 diabetes, weight loss, all that jazz. All that good stuff. Okay. So, yeah. Back to the video and eating.
Study, what they did was they overfed humans carbohydrates. And from baseline, when they fed them a lot of glucose and fructose, they increased their body weight, but only by 2%. However, when they measured their liver fat, it went up by 27%. And when they measured how much de novo lipogenesis was happening, they found an identical 27%. When they took them off of their high-starch diets, they lost all that liver fat. When you eat a lot of glucose, this is going to stimulate the production of the hormone insulin, which is a storage hormone. It tells our body to store some of this energy that's coming in. And one of the ways that our body does that is through the creation of new fat. These studies show that there's a clear correlation between giving people insulin and how much fat is in their liver. The same effect is seen in overfeeding of fructose, things like sugar or high fructose corn syrup. When they did this to humans, what they found was that the amount of de novo lipogenesis that was being done in the liver increased the amount of new fat by 79%. The rate of de novo lipogenesis increased from baseline by 6 times. So the liver is responding to this high load of fructose by turning it into fat in the liver. Once we understand how this fat is created and stored in the liver, that leads us naturally to how we're going to treat it. Since fatty liver is caused by too much sugar, both glucose and fructose, the logical solution is simply to cut them down. And that's what recent research has shown us to be highly effective in the reversal of fatty liver disease. This study, published in 2019, looked at teenage boys who had developed fatty liver. And what they did was they randomized them to a normal diet versus a very low sugar diet, less than 3% of calories, compared to a normal diet, which was less than 10% of calories. What were the results? This is a graph of what happened on the low sugar diet. The dotted line is the amount of fat in the liver prior to the diet, and the circle is how much liver fat there was after following this low sugar diet. And on average, the liver fat decreased from 20...
Hey man, if you're on this page, you've
Ad.
probably already heard about this. Afro D.
No thanks.
5% to 17%. You can see that most of the circles drop below the original dotted line, compared to the usual diet where there really wasn't much change, and the average liver fat moved from 21% only to 20%, or no change at all. This study from 2021 randomized people to 2 different types of dietary intervention. Either a fasting type diet, which is a 5-2 diet, or a low carbohydrate, high fat diet. In the fasting diet, their diet didn't change much, although on 2 of the days, they ate very few calories. The low carb diet severely restricted the amount of carbohydrates that they ate. So what happened? Both the fasting and the low carb diets resulted in better weight loss compared to the usual diet. But more importantly, when they looked at the liver fat, they could reduce the amount of fat in the liver by over 50%, both with fasting and low carbohydrate diets. This makes a lot of sense. If fatty liver is really just caused by too much sugar, that is too much glucose and too much fructose, then the logical intervention is to simply cut them back. By using very low carbohydrate diets and or fasting, we can reverse fatty liver disease, a blossoming epidemic, and one that's contributing to a lot of liver failure. And we can do it completely naturally and completely free. We just have to take the knowledge of how it develops and apply it to our lives. If you want to learn more about how to use intermittent fasting, you can check out the other videos in my playlist, somewhere here. Thanks for watching. If you learned something, maybe share it with a friend.
Yeah. Interesting. Let's see what other recent stuff he has. Fasting destroy your muscles. Okay, I haven't seen this one.
Yeah! Does fasting burn muscle? That's a question I hear all the time, and that's what we're going to tackle coming right up. Before we talk about what Carey Cruz does, let's talk about the science behind his success. It's important to understand what causes muscles to grow or shrink. So, we all know...
Okay, basically I'm listening to this excuse me, at one point, just now was at 1.25 times the speed, right? I don't have the patience to listen to them talk slowly. Yeah. Or with Coach Greg, I can just do 1.25, but with Dr. Jason Fung, I'll up it to 1.5. Yeah. Let's carry on.
How this works. Muscles grow because you put stress on them. So if you lift something very heavy, what happens is that you create micro tears in your muscles, and when you rest them, your muscles rebuild so that they're better able to handle that stress. So when you lift heavy things, you get stronger. And you get weaker because you don't lift heavy things. So for example, if you have an astronaut who goes up in space, all of a sudden they don't have the force of gravity, and their muscles don't need to oppose that force, and they very, very quickly lose muscle. Same thing happens if you were to rest in bed for a week. You lose a lot of muscles. So your muscles grow or shrink depending on how much stress you put on them, and it really has nothing to do with what you eat. If you are in a situation where you have adequate nutrition, and that means a body fat percentage more than about 4%, which is very, very, very little, then you're not in a situation where you need to use your muscles for fuel. Your body stores energy, that is calories, in 2 different ways. It stores it as sugar, and it stores it as body fat. So when you need to use those calories, then you'll take it out of your stores of sugar or your stores of body fat and not your protein. It would be very silly for us to design our body so that we store energy as sugar and fat, but when we need it, we just burn muscle. It doesn't make sense, and that's not what the body does. So eating more protein or eating more doesn't necessarily build muscle, and eating less doesn't necessarily burn muscle. Let's look at what the studies show. In this first study, published in Obesity Journal in 2010, what they did was they compared what happened to the fat mass and the lean mass over 70 days of alternate daily fasting. That is 1 day fasting, 1 day not fasting. And what you can see from the study is that the fat mass decreased from 43.5 kilos to 38.1 kilos. So excellent, the body is using its stores of fat. If you look at the fat-free mass, which is the lean mass, which includes muscle but isn't just the muscle, it went from 51.4 kilos to 51.9 kilos. In other words, the lean mass, which includes the muscle, did not go down. In fact, if anything, it went up. This more recent study in 2016 compared two groups, one with chronic calorie restriction, marked as CR, and one with alternate daily fasting. And once again, you can see that in both groups they lost weight. If you compare the lean mass in terms of percentage, because as you lose fat, your lean mass percentage goes up, you can see that calorie restriction increased lean mass as a percentage of total body mass by 0.5%, but the fasting strategy increased it by 2.2%, meaning that the fasting strategy, while they were equal in terms of weight loss overall, was about 4 times better at preserving the lean mass. Which hormone is most important for growth? Well, the name says it all, growth hormone. So this is a hormone that is secreted by the pituitary gland. It peaks in puberty, when most people are growing most rapidly, and then declines over time. It also happens to be one of the counter-regulatory hormones. That is, when you don't eat, the hormone insulin goes down, but certain hormones, including growth hormone, go up. And we can see the effect of this increased growth hormone in this study. Here they treated people with documented low growth hormone with exogenous growth hormone. And overall weight was unchanged, but you can see that the lean mass increased by 3.7 kilos. That's almost 8 pounds, while the fat mass, which is adipose mass, decreased by 2.4 kilos. At the same time, the thickness of the skin increased, as did the bones, which is not shown here. And those are all great anti-aging benefits of this growth hormone. So why doesn't everybody take growth hormone? It's because of the side effects. What they found is that when you give people injections of growth hormone, it increases the blood sugar because it's one of the counter-regulatory hormones. So that's expected, which is going to increase prediabetes and diabetes. The other thing it does is it increases blood pressure and causes fluid retention. If fasting increases growth hormone, then why don't we get the same side effects? Well, because the fasting counteracts all those side effects. Where growth hormone is going to increase blood sugar, the fasting is going to decrease it. Where growth hormone increases blood...
Do you sometimes find the fear of what could happen is making nothing happen in your life?
No,
If so,
bye.
pressure, the fasting decreases it. Where growth hormone increases fluid retention of blood sugar, the fasting is going to decrease it. Where growth hormone increases blood pressure,
More.
retention. If fasting increases growth hormone, then why don't we get the same side effects? Well, because the fasting counteracts all those side effects. Where growth hormone is going to increase blood sugar, the fasting is going to decrease it. Where growth hormone increases blood pressure, the fasting decreases it. Where growth hormone increases fluid retention, the fasting is going to decrease it. So you're going to get all the beneficial effects of the growth hormone without all the side effects.
Wow.
Here's a measurement of how much growth hormone increases with fasting. And you can see in the slide here that the meal times really decrease the growth hormone, and you get a spike in the evening time or overnight period. When you're fasting, the amount of growth hormone goes up tremendously. So the growth hormone is critical for maintaining our functional lean tissue. When you're fasting, growth hormone goes up, it maintains that lean muscle, but when you're ready to eat again, your body is already primed to build functional muscle, and that's why fasting does not burn muscle. We store our food energy, or our calories, as glucose or fat. When we don't have it, we use the glucose and fat, we don't use our protein. It's sort of like storing up firewood for the winter, and then as soon as it gets cold, to chop up your sofa and throw it in the fire. Do you really think our body is just that stupid? It's not how we survive to become the dominant creature on this earth. What does Terry Crews do? Terry Crews has been noted in many interviews to incorporate fasting every day as part of his overall regimen. He typically uses a 16-8 schedule. That's a 16-hour period of fast, and then he'll often work out fasted and then eat for those 8 hours. Why does this make sense? Well, remember, during fasting, insulin's going down, you're drawing on your stores of energy, including body fat, and then you're increasing your counter-regulatory hormones, which includes your sympathetic tone or noradrenaline, as well as growth hormone. So, if you're increasing your noradrenaline, you're going to be able to train harder. If you increase your growth hormone at the same time as you do with fasting, you're going to be able to recover faster. So train
I'll be right back. Be right back. And I'm back. To finish off this last bit of soup. And finish off and really concentrate on listening to what Dr. Jason Fung is saying. It's interesting, isn't it? Intermittent fasting. Actually, I've been practicing intermittent fasting for. Let me bring up my records because I don't remember these things. So, okay, I've been tracking my intermittent fasting since 25th of January. Right, been 25th of January until now. This week, the beginning of week 11, right? 5th of April. Yep. So, and what kind of effect does it have, or did it have on me personally? Is basically when I began, roughly, my weight was 79.5 kg on the 25th of January. And that first week, I did 16/8 fasting, Monday to Friday. 16/8 means 16 hours of not eating, and then 8 hours of eating, but not 8 hours full of all just eating. You know, like 8-hour window of eating, right? And that same week, I cycled 3 times. Went out and cycled 3 times. So on average, every time I go out and cycle is about between 24 to 30 kilometers. And I usually finish it within 2 hours, you know, with water breaks in between because I sweat a lot. Right? Even right now, I'm glistening with sweat, right? Just sitting here eating. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my. So basically, been consistently fasting for the past 10 full weeks. This is week 11, and this morning when I woke up after dinner last night. I finished dinner last night at about 7:30 p.m. and then I had to go out for a shoot and all that. But it's not. It wasn't physically very demanding, the shoot. But I came back, showered, went to sleep, woke up a bit late today. No work today, Monday. So I had not eaten when I took my weight this morning for about 15.5 hours. That means since dinner last night. My weight was roughly 74.5, between 74.5 to 75 kilograms. Because I use a mechanical scale, so it moves, vibrates, fluctuates a bit. So I take it as 74.75 kilograms. Right? And the beginning of last week, Monday, I weighed in at 76. And this is kind of not accurate, but it's the datum that I take. First thing when I wake up in the morning, I will go pee, right? Then I'll do some stretches, because you're cold and, at beginning of the day, right? Just do some stretches. After that, I'll weigh myself. I won't drink water or anything yet, okay? And that's what I do every morning, right? So that every morning the condition is about the same, right? When I wake up, so it's not. It may not be morning, right? Sometimes I might, it might be late in the morning or early in the morning, or depends. But the first thing when I wake up, right? So, and I take note of how long it's been after the previous meal. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. That's it. The meal is done. I'm finished all my food. Okay. You can see the oil. That is very oily and glistening. Huh? Okay. And this is not even all of it. It's just some of it, right? And the soup. Okay. So I'm not gonna I'm not going to drink the oil, but hey, let's just drink the soup, right? Ooh. Ooh. That was bad. Went down the wrong. The spiciness went down the wrong. Wow. Okay. That was bad. Hey, thanks for joining me, guys. Until next time. Until I get bored of doing this kind of videos. Or actually people want to tell me not to do this kind of videos anymore. Right? Who knows? I might do this again tomorrow or never. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye. Coffee.